guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a Q&A, which I had mentioned like 3 weeks or maybe even a month ago, but I'm just now getting around to filming. So have had a good long stretch to collect questions from you guys, and I've kind of tried to sort them and organize them a little bit, and just got them on my computer here and gonna read them right off. But before I jump into the questions, I did want to take a minute just to say thank you so much to everybody for all of your really kind and thoughtful notes on last week's video. I wasn't expecting that kind of a response. So yeah, and all the emails and notes and stuff. It's just been really encouraging, and yeah, really nice to hear, especially from some of these already mother artists, people who are juggling both things and figuring out how to make it work. So yeah, really encouraging, really nice, made me feel really good. So thank you for being excited for me and with me, and yeah, for all of your really sweet words. So very much appreciated. So yeah, on that high, I'm just gonna jump right into the questions. And since these are from all over the place, I just got them kind of in one list, and I'm gonna read the person's name who sent them, and if I don't know their name, I'll just use their username. All right, so the first question is from Karen, and Karen asks, how did you set up your website? Was it professionally done, or did you put it together yourself? So I put my website together with a platform called Squarespace. And Squarespace is great because you can use it, and if you know a lot of code, you can do awesome stuff totally from scratch and do whatever you can dream up basically. Or if you know no code at all, you can just go right in and use one of their ready-made templates and upload your work. It also has merchant capabilities. Or if you're like me and you know like a little bit of code, just enough to get yourself into trouble, then you can do that too. So basically it's great for whatever level you're at. This is not sponsored in any way. I do genuinely love Squarespace. Before that I had been really into WordPress and kind of cobbling together different little, what are those things called? Widgets, different widgets and add-ons and bits of code, but it was a huge pain, and Squarespace is just really easy. So yeah, I first used it about 3 years ago, and I've been using it ever since, and highly, highly recommend it. Next question is from Brickhouse22. When you use Gamsol to blend colored pencils, does it affect the water-based media you've already laid down? So thankfully, since Gamsol really only interacts with oil and wax-based media, you can put it down right on top of a layer of watercolor that has already dried, or you know how sometimes if you want to add more water to a layer of watercolor, it will re-wet and become workable again. It's really cool with Gamsol. You can add your colored pencils or wax pastels or whatever you're going to use, and use the Gamsol right over that, and even though it's wet, it's not going to move the watercolor around. So it really doesn't affect the water-based media that's already been laid down. So definitely a good way to build up lots of different kinds of layers. And I did do a video on working with mixed media and kind of the layering order of mixed media. So I will link that somewhere on the screen because that could be a good reference as well. Next question is from Cindy. What program do you use to edit your video, and do you have any tips on lighting, etc. that you might be able to share? So I just use iMovie, and that's what I've been using since I started making videos. And it definitely has some limitations, and I've looked into potentially using some of the Adobe programs, but I don't know. For now, my philosophy with a lot of that stuff is just to kind of keep it minimal if I can. And yeah, I may change in the future, but for now I've been happy enough with it. And for lighting, if you've seen my studio tour video, you know that I have 2 good-sized windows in my studio, one that's kind of behind the camera here, and then another one behind me. So for the most part, I just use natural light. Today, since I am actually filming a bit later in the day than I usually do, I have a couple of lamps that are, I think technically they're for product photography, like if you're shooting small objects, but they were pretty inexpensive and they don't take up a lot of space. So I just have one in front of me and one kind of behind me. And they're not so much lighting my face as they are just making the darker corners of the space that I'm filming in not be so dark, so it looks a little bit more even. But yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest tip would be to work with natural light where you can. And that's true for filming, that's true for if you're photographing your artwork, and I think it's true for working on your artwork as well, just because it, for me anyway, I can see color much easier in natural light. Next question is from Shosh and Mare. I hope I'm saying your names right. And they ask, do you ever scan things in to work onto your iPad, or do you always work from scratch directly on the iPad? For the most part, I would say I work from scratch on the iPad, and that's usually because like 80% of what I use the iPad for, in terms of like client work anyway, is just for doing the initial sketch, because it's way easier to move things around. Like if the client wants to have something in a different position than I had it, or whatever, it's really easy to just kind of move the different layers around. So mostly I'm just using it for that, if I'm working on client work. But there was the one time that I've done what you're mentioning, the having a finished piece or a piece that I've started with traditional media and then put it onto the iPad, was earlier this year. I think it was this year, maybe it was the end of last year, but I did a self-portrait that I did completely traditionally, the whole like figure part of it, but then scanned it in and did the background on the iPad, and that was really fun, and I liked it, and I have no opposition or reservations with doing it again at some point. It's just not something that I'm in the regular habit of doing. But yeah, I would do it again in the future. Tessie asks, is there anything I can do if I've burnished my drawing too much? So it depends on the kind of paper or the quality of the paper, the condition of the paper. So if you've burnished so much that the paper is already kind of pilling and peeling and flaking, then it probably is past the point of repair, unless you want to like put some gesso on it and then rework the entire area from scratch, although even then you would still need some pretty sturdy paper. But if you've just kind of filled up the tooth of the paper too much, if there's too much pigment in there and you can't add any more on top, or you know, if it's when you're burnishing you kind of flatten down the tooth of the pigment. So if you've done that and it's all kind of shiny and smooth, but it hasn't started to flake or pill yet, then you might be able to use a workable spray fixative. And I have talked about those in other videos in a very negative light, because I really don't like how they can change the color and look of your piece in unexpected ways. So I try really hard not to use them. But if you are in the situation where you're stuck and you've just burnished a bit too much in one area, but you do still need to add more on top, you can do a layer or two of the workable spray fixative, and make sure it's the workable kind. And then that'll give the pigment a little bit of something to hold on to. So yeah, if you've gone really far and the paper's falling apart, probably not a lot you can do. But if it's still just a little bit too burnished, then you might try the spray fixative. From Miriam, do you do any follow-up with clients once you have worked with them? Like, do you keep track of them? Do you try to reach out to them somehow and perhaps build some more collaborations? So this is something that I'm working on, and I'm probably not as good about it as I should be, just because it falls into that category of things that I find just like I don't enjoy doing them, like invoicing and like sending emails and all of that. So I tend to procrastinate on it more than I should. My goal is to send quarterly updates of new work to existing clients, but probably more what it ends up being is like twice a year. And I have two kind of groups that I try to keep in contact with. One are the clients that I have already worked with and that I've completed projects for, and then another are the art directors that have reached out to me or contacted me about a project in the past, and maybe we've kind of gotten started on the earlier phases or just been in conversations about it, but for whatever reason it didn't ever come to completion or get off the ground. So those are people that I follow up with as well, because I know that they have already expressed an interest in my work. So those two groups I try to send regular email updates to. I probably should do it more often, but yeah, it is something I'm working on. From Little Thimble Studio, Do you listen to podcasts while you work? If so, what are your favorites? So yes, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I tend to go kind of in phases where I'm more into audiobooks or more into podcasts, and I happen to be in a podcast heavy phase right now. So I have a lot of favorites, and I'm going to put them all in the description box, but a few of my, I'll do my top 7 favorites. That's not too many. So top 7 favorites would be Snap Judgment, Radio Lab, Mortified, Death, Sex, and Money, Criminal, and Invisibilia. And they're all just really interesting. None of these are small podcasts. They're all like pretty big and mainstream. So you guys may have heard of those. But yeah, I really enjoy all of those and several others. So I will link those in the description box below. Beth Saida asks, can you list a few YouTube artist channels that give you insight and inspiration? So this is a little bit trickier because I think typically if I'm in a phase where I'm feeling like I need inspiration, I don't usually look at other people's work, just because that can put me in a space where I feel like I'm getting even more critical of myself and frustrated with myself. So I do enjoy looking at other people's work, obviously, but if I'm in like an inspiration desert, I tend to want to look at other things. So some of the most inspiring channels for me are actually food channels. So Chef Steps is one that I really love. I also really like Hot for Food, and PBS has some like specific, it's the whole PBS channel, but like they have this one, I guess it's like a program on their channel, but it's called Kitchen Vignettes, and that's one that I was watching a lot right before I started making videos. And it's just, yeah, these little short, probably like 3-minute long videos of this woman who lives out in the country and has a farm, and so it shows her going out into the fields and picking and harvesting the different fruits and vegetables, and then making this whole thing from scratch. And they're just absolutely gorgeous, and they were very inspiring for me to want to make videos. And then in terms of art channels that would be like good on insight and kind of information for illustrators, I think Frannerd has a great channel. You guys have probably heard of her. Iraville is also excellent. Holly Exley also has a wonderful channel. And those are all illustrators who are like working in the field and also making really cool videos. So would recommend all of those for sure. And then in terms of more like general art channels, I was able to work with Art a la carte on a collab earlier this year, and that was amazing. And Valerie has tons of really good videos, particularly for beginning artists, covering more like technique focused stuff. Another illustrator who I've worked with is Allison Ranieri. And she has a lot of videos on art and illustration as well. And personally, I've also really liked some of these channels that do more just like artist interviews and artist videos. So they're not run by one artist, but they're more just like a collective. I'll have to find out the name of that one that I'm thinking of, but I will try to put that in the description box as well. From Alex, do you recommend any good gold marker? So I haven't used like every gold marker out there, but I've used a lot of gold markers and a lot of metallic markers. And typically I feel like silver are better than gold, just for opacity. And I really have never found a gold marker that I liked. I found silver markers that I liked, but I haven't found gold ones. But what I've been using recently is just this, it's actually a paint, it's not a marker, but it's these Laco Artist Metallics. And I got them in my Art Snacks box, the big holiday one, in December, which was a Christmas gift from my sister. Thank you, Carly. And I am obsessed with them. They're like by far the best metallic media besides actual metal leaf that I've ever used. I think they look the closest to metal leaf. They have, yeah, they just have the same color. They almost even have the same texture, really. So they're absolutely beautiful, and that is what I would recommend over a gold marker. And I will also put those in the description box. From an anonymous person on Tumblr, I am a self-taught artist working primarily with black India ink on paper. Currently, I am in music school in Boston, but now in my senior year, I realize that art is my passion and music is just an interest. Any thoughts on pursuing art so late in the game, 21 years old? So first of all, I would say 21 is not late in the game at all. I mean, I think I've said this in my art autobiography, but I was 20 when I took my first art class, and I didn't even know for sure that that was what I wanted to do vocationally. So while there are people that are like 14 and already have incredible portfolios, and I'm amazed by those of you that do that, that's just incredible. That doesn't mean at all that by 21 it's too late for you in art. So it's never too late, and the older you get and the more established you get in another career, to be honest, it will be harder to change tracks. But 21, not at all late in the game. I would just say, yeah, the same thing that I tell myself, which is that, you know, Wayne Thiebaud was in his 30s when he really started getting into painting. So many other artists didn't really even get serious or accomplish any big body of work until they were in their 40s or 50s. And so we do tend to see a lot of really young artists getting big spotlight and lots of success in our culture, and that's amazing. I'm not trying to diminish that at all, but we shouldn't get the idea that that's the norm or that that's the way that you have to do it. So yeah, 21, you have plenty of time, and I would say go for it. Last question here, and this is from Savikma or Savik MA. How do you plan to continue to work at home after having the little bundle? And will you find out the gender? So I honestly don't know specifically how. I mean, I know that the plan is to continue working from home. We just have a 2-bedroom place, so right now my studio is in the 2nd bedroom, and we're planning right now just to have the baby in our room, and we'll see how long that works out for. I may need to get a studio outside of the home, but I really like working at home, so we'll see. And then in terms of just day-to-day stuff, my husband Eric has a pretty flexible schedule as well. I mean, it's really busy, but like we both have kind of flexible hours in terms of when we work. So we hopefully should be able to trade off some, and then I'm hoping my family's going to be able to help a little bit. And then we also live really close to a lot of colleges. So, you know, I imagine that if I end up in a situation where Eric can't pick up some of the slack, or where my family isn't able to help and I'm under a tight deadline and really just need to be able to work, then we'll probably just hire a college student or yeah, somebody to come in and just be downstairs with the baby while I'm working. And some of that depends too on their personality. If it's a really quiet baby and who sleeps a lot, then you know, I may be able to do more just in those kind of in between times. But personalities are so different, and just from my limited experience with babysitting, I know that some kids are really low key and quiet, and then some kids are super interactive and just wanting to do stuff all the time, even when they're little babies. So we're gonna have to just see what the baby is like. And at this point, even though I don't know like exactly what the plan is and how it will work, I feel like we'll be able to figure it out. And I know it's like so different, but dealing with all of the health struggles that I've gone through at a young age, I feel like has made me understand and appreciate how to work around limitation. And I don't want to be comparing our baby at all to an autoimmune disease. I'm not. I'm just saying, like, there are certain limitations that come with being a parent, as there are with being a person with chronic health issues. So I do feel like I have a little bit of a grasp on that and just working around limitations. So I'm confident that we'll be able to figure it out, and I'm going to try not to get too caught up into the nitty-gritty and the details until we're actually in it, because so much of that stuff could be really different depending on the situation and what the baby is like. And yes, we will find out the gender. All right, so that's it for the questions from you guys. There were actually a couple more questions that were really, I don't know, I just like really resonated with them, and they seemed kind of more open-ended. So I'm probably going to make 1 or 2 videos just on those topics, and they'll be kind of on like the artist's struggle or feeling insecure about your work, and being judgmental of your own work, and then also deciding like which direction you want to go in with your work. So those are both really interesting questions, I felt like, and I can imagine needed to go a little bit deeper with those. So I'm going to make either 1 or 2 dedicated videos on those. So stay tuned for that. And before we wrap up, I do actually have a question for you guys. So I'm planning on starting a Patreon later this month, so the end of September 2016. And this is just going to help me to make more videos, keep making videos, make more of the kinds of content you guys keep requesting. And I'm kind of in the planning process of that right now. And one of the parts that I need to plan is the rewards, and what kind of rewards my patrons will get. So I would love, love, love to hear from you guys what kinds of rewards would be interesting to you. So if you have any ideas about that, please leave them in the description box. And as always, if you have other questions or things that you'd like to see in a future video or a future Q&A, or things that didn't get answered today, then feel free to leave those in the comments as well. And yeah, that should finally be it. I hope this video isn't too long. And if you've made it to the end, thank you very much for watching. I mean, I guess even if you didn't make it to the end, thank you for watching what you watched. And please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already, all that good stuff. So yeah, and again, all of the things that I've mentioned and links, there's going to be a lot in the description box today. So take a look. Yes, and that is really, really it. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.